So, before we start this episode, I would like to give a shout out to Peaceful Provisions, my favorite vegan donut shop. Love them, love the ladies up there. They've been doing great work. And finally, they are actually going to hopefully open up their storefront soon. And they opened up a GoFundMe. So I want to give them a huge shout out. Really love their donuts. Please support them if you can. You can find them at Peaceful Provisions on Instagram. And they also have their website, peacefulprovisions.com. So please check them out, show them some love, and let's hopefully get their storefront opened. So with that being said, let's start the show. I am Luis Agustin, and this is A View to Film. Welcome back to A View to Film. My next guest is actually a former employee of mine, and she's just an awesome human being. She has one kid, and she's just phenomenal. That's it. I'm going to stop talking about her because she's just awesome. I'm glad that she's on the podcast. Please welcome Miss Sheila Brito.
No, keep going. I just want all the flattery. Just keep going. I don't think you were done.
Dominican mom.
Yeah.
One of my favorites from being back here in New York. Like I said, I know I give you a hard time being your boss, but you know what? You're a stronger person now. You got more character, right?
Yeah, Lou. We always had such a fun dynamic, but no, I don't think you were hard at all. I honestly think you were. I mean, you're someone who you were about your shit, and I don't think you gave me a hard time at all. I think you were a really awesome boss. And I think that's why, our professional relationship flourished into a good friendship because of that. So, yeah, no, you're dope. You're dope.
Oh, I appreciate it. I mean, we don't want to give the fans too much, but I did want to throw that nugget out there.
Yeah.
And that's why I invited you on, and I'm happy you're on. And thank you, though, for honestly taking the time so you can come on the podcast so we can talk about one of your favorite movies. Which movie are we talking about today?
We are talking about Bridesmaids.
Nice. Oh, and actually, before we say anything else, because you did press me to shout out. What wine are you drinking? You're drinking wine, you said, right?
I am drinking wine. I am drinking, it's like a blend one. It's called, is a Menage a Trois one, and it's a soft red blend. It's called Silk. Josh got it for me, so I don't know, but it tastes good.
It tastes good? Is that your favorite kind of wine, or would you prefer something else?
To be quite honest, I just don't like sweet wine. So anything, the drier, the better. I don't like sweet wine. I don't know what it is. It just gives me a headache. I don't like the taste of it. I prefer kind of like black coffee, just that tart
Me too.
taste.
Me and you both. Yep. Us, our black coffee.
Yep.
I was going to say for the listeners out there, I am drinking a wine from William Hill. It's a Cabernet Sauvignon. And I actually sent you a picture of it because I highly recommend it to you. It is on the drier side. It's very good. It has a little bit of the fruit taste notes to it, but definitely William Hill. The year is 2017. The 2014 is my favorite. And I have one stored away for any special occasion, which I don't know what that's going to be with COVID. But so we're talking about Bridesmaids today. For people who haven't seen it, it came out in 2011. It's with Kristen Wiig, Maya Rudolph, got the gang from Saturday Night Live. Sheila, why do you love this movie in your own words?
It's just, honestly, it's so funny. It is just my belly hurts every time I watch it because I laugh so hard. I mean, even when I was watching the movie just for this podcast, I watched it twice just so I wouldn't miss anything, basically back to back. And it's funny. And I'm not a huge movie head. So full disclosure there might be movies that are funny that is just like an all female cast, right. But you don't really see those like that. I know there's the girls trip one
Oh, that
But
one was
it was
hilarious.
so
So
funny. It was, but I think this was like the first one that you can see like an all female cast and they're raunchy. And it's just, it reminds me of a lot of my friendships. Not necessarily like the train wreck or anything like that, but you
mhm.
can definitely see like it's just that dynamic where you don't take each other very serious. You know, you can be goofy around each other and it's a okay.
I love that. And I think that's a great saying. It's true. We don't really see that too often in film where we'll have like an all female cast and like it's just the girls hanging out. And I really like, to your credit, I really enjoy this film and I love Girl Trip too. I was gonna like give a shout out to it because I'm like, yo, that was another great one where it's just the girls. You're seeing their perspective, which I also liked a lot. Like sometimes seeing all the man jokes, like it kind of gets repetitive because you're like, okay, well, you're gonna make all these kind of jokes, but the female jokes, it brings a new perspective that you're like, oh man, that was hilarious, bro. I agree with you.
Yeah, yeah. And there's always been this misconception, that women can't be funny. You hear it in media all the time. I mean, I guess it's gotten better now, but it's always been a men's world in that sense. So it's very refreshing to see. And also, I've been a bridesmaid twice. And
Okay,
this
so
time
you can
around,
relate.
yeah, my best friend, one of my best friends is getting married. Well, she was going to get married during the whole COVID situation, but that clearly messed everything up for now. But
Hmm.
I can relate, not necessarily. I guess this is definitely very intensified for the storyline. But you can just relate to those things, when maybe are you biting off more than you can chew, and so it's not only that, but it's also relevant. Not only because it talks about friendships and sometimes even the jealousy or rivalry between friendships, but also that anyone that's been in a wedding party, you had a
Hmm.
wedding and or been part of a wedding, and it's like there's a lot of it's a huge responsibility, and it can
Yeah.
drive some people crazy.
I think that movies that are usually based off of wedding, because of there's so many moving parts, are usually so great to have a comedy around because like you said, there's so many people involved. It brings a big cast together and like there's so many moving parts. Everybody's doing something. There's always like hijinks. A wedding is never perfect. 100%. So like it's so it's true. So it's so easy to make fun of certain things that go wrong because you're trying to have this quote unquote perfect day, but nothing's ever perfect. You're always gonna have like either a bridezilla or like a bridesmaid or a groomsman that does something crazy, and you're like, yo, what? Like, yo, me too. I've had my fair share, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like even when you hear things about like weddings, someone's telling you about a wedding. There's always a story. There's always something. It's never
Yes.
flawless, And even when it's flawless, there's something that to the wedding or groom, it's like, this did not go the way we planned. You might drink too much. Things might get a little weird. So,
Yes. Your
you know,
father-in-law might drink too much. Brother-in-law, sister, like, yo,
yes.
so many. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's so relevant. I think that's what it is. It's funny. It's very, very funny. And it's just organically funny. You're not trying too hard. There was a scene in that I felt like they were trying too hard to make it funny. And every
Oh,
time I
okay.
watch it,
Okay.
it's cringeworthy. But
No, no,
other
wait.
than
Let's
that,
get
I
let's
think,
get to it. Let's get to it. I
oh,
was actually
okay.
going to ask you about that specifically, which is really good you brought that up because I
Oh,
actually my words that I wrote down in my notes were cringe. Like, hey, is this too much cringeworthy? But we're gonna get to that in a sec. I
okay.
wanted
Maybe
to
it's
ask
the
you
same
something.
scene.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is.
Okay.
So you're saying you've been a bridesmaid once, and now you're gonna be on twice, right?
No, I've been a bridesmaids twice. One was
Okay.
Cheyenne's wedding.
Oh, okay. Shout
Yeah,
outs to Cheyenne, another
my
coworker of
baby.
ours.
I love her so
Hmm.
much.
Yeah, shout outs to
Um,
her.
yeah. And so one of them, and then another one was another really good friend of mine, one of my closest friends. And then now we're in the process right now. Everything's so stalled, but in the process of like planning for my other best friend. Although she has a wedding planner, so it's a little easier and
Okay,
she's
good.
made it really
Good.
easy, but still there's still responsibilities and things you have to worry about. We were trying to plan a bachelorette party, we even bought a flight for her to try to surprise her to Atlanta. because one of the bridesmaids lives in Atlanta and she
Oh,
opened her
man.
home up to us, and everything just had to be canceled because of this pandemic. So it was just kind of just even that, like trying to call the airlines, cancel, trying to figure out
Yeah.
the logistics. How can we sneak in the state? Because we, not that we weren't taking the pandemic seriously, but we also wanted, all these curveballs happened and we just wanted to make her happy. And unfortunately, everything had to be canceled. But, her wedding was just postponed, not canceled. But yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Here we go with some of the tough questions, right?
Ay, ay,
So,
ay.
are you are you an Annie or a Helen? Because now
I'm
you've
more
been
of
a
an
bridesmaid twice.
Annie. I'm more
Yeah.
of an Annie. Scale down to crazy, but I am someone that might forget something, or I'm trying to make things simple. And sometimes I'm doing it out of my own convenience.
Hmm.
And it's not necessarily what the bride wants or what everybody else is willing to do.
Hmm.
So I could relate to that. I'm like, can we just go here? And it would be so much fun. And I think that's what I would like for my wedding. So let's do that. And I was like, no, let's do this more extravagant thing. And I think from that perspective, I'm more of an Annie. I like simple.
Okay, I like it. I like it. I'm not gonna argue with that. I think that you are very like organized on top of it, and you would go out of your way to help somebody else out, even at your detriment. So I'll definitely give you that.
Yeah.
Um, I was gonna ask. So I know you haven't seen many films, right? But you have seen Saturday Night Live, and you've seen like some of the skits that the ladies in this movie have done, right? Would you say
Yeah.
that this is Kristen Wiig's best role that you've ever seen, or like have you seen other movies of her?
Uh, Nothing that comes to mind right now.
What about Melissa McCarthy? What do you think about her role?
I think this is the best I've seen her in. I think this has been. I watched the one though she was like a thief, or she like I was
Oh,
identity theft.
Spy.
Was that the?
Oh, yes, with Jason Bateman.
Yes,
Yes,
I
yeah,
watched that
Bateman.
one,
Yes.
and yeah, it was funny, but it wasn't my favorite. I think this has been my favorite, and I think it's the first time I was exposed to her. So it might have been her first like big role. I'm not sure, but this is definitely everything I've seen her in. This is definitely my favorite with
I,
her.
I 100% agree with you.
And I think with Kristen Wiig, I think that this role, and when you look at, I would go more for the skits because I'm a pretty big SNL fan.
Mhm.
I think it was on the same path. I didn't see anything that I was like, oh. I think maybe to see that she's such a good actress. I do see that. There's some people that you put them in roles and you're like, eh. But even like her expression when like that whole scene happened and like the wing, like the colonial woman that she said she was seeing, like churning butter. But even like I was noticing like just her expressions, like how she's like, I'm looking, oh, what is that? Oh, wow, this is happening. And you can just see
Yes,
the
yes,
range in her emotion there of like being like, oh my gosh, is this really happening? And just to kind of see that, because I feel like you could be a comedian when it's all funny, but when you have to add depth, then that's when you kind of see like, oh yeah, you're a good actress or you're just a funny person in a movie.
100%. I
Yeah.
100% agree with it. Yeah, I think that part was when she did that. I truly was like looking the other way, like, wait a second, what is she looking at again? Because I have
Yeah.
forgot. I haven't seen it in a while. But
Yeah. But you can see the range. Like it could just, her face changes. Like it's like three different scenes, which is like change, 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 all in one take. So it's that, I think that like it's surprising to see, oh yeah, she's a really good actress. But I do think like when she was doing like the "oh I'm not drunk" dance, I feel like all those moves I saw in SNL with her.
I wrote down, right? The most cringeworthy part was the speeches at the beginning, right? Was that what you had?
No,
Really?
what
No
speeches are you
way.
talking about?
Well, I'm talking about when what is it? When Annie is actually speaking at the that's not at the bridal shower. It's
Oh,
the
the
announcement,
the
the engagement
engagement
party.
party, the
At the
engagement
engagement party,
party.
yes. So like one of the very first scenes was when she, all right, maid of honor. I'm gonna go up. I'm gonna say a speech, and then your girl Helen comes up and then takes the mic from her and outdoes her with like even more of a heartfelt speech. But then Annie comes back and then they're just like fighting each other to like get the last word in. Like that to me was super cringe. Like if I would have been at that wedding, I would have just been like, all right, like so when are the hors d'oeuvres coming out, or like when is something else coming
Awkward.
out? Like I'm not gonna I'm not gonna watch this. Like all right, you said what you had to say, and like people stayed like just staring at them. It was just insane.
That was, I see what you're saying. Like, if you put yourself in their shoes as a guest, and if you were to see that, how it could be cringeworthy. But I think for the comedy purposes, and I think the one thing that I like about that scene is like you already start seeing the dynamic that both I was going to call Rose by actual actress name, but Helen and Annie have. That's the dynamic throughout the entire movie, where is like Helen is always trying to upstage Annie with everything, like basically like flaunting her money, who she knows, and what her connections are. Or, oh, I've played tennis for this long, or, oh, well, she plays tennis with me. Like, but I think that kind of starts that dynamic. It lets the viewer know, okay, this is what's going to be happening throughout the movie, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. So I was gonna ask you, so which part for you was the most cringeworthy?
All right. So the most cringeworthy is the I just don't like her character. Oh, God, I forget her name. The character's name is Bren, the sister
Oh,
of the roommate, Rebel Wilson.
Rebel Wilson. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
I just
You don't like that
don't.
part?
I just don't see what her role really added to the character when she was like, oh, so I'm on a tourist visa, so I'm supposed to tour. Oh, so what am I going to prostitute myself? Something about putting was it American sausage in my English McMuffin? Like, it's a good line, but I think the way that it was delivered, it was like am I supposed to prostitute myself? And she just kept like rambling, and I'm like, oh gosh, stop, make it stop.
I I would say so. Is that something that you would change from the film? That leads into my like follow up question on that. That's something you would
Is
just take her character out.
not. I don't know that I would take her character out. I think it's funny, like when she's like the tattoo's infected and when she's pouring the peas on her back. I think like that was funny,
Oof.
like just as the background to see it. You're like they're trying to have a serious
Or just
conversation
shorten
about
it,
money. Hmm?
right? I was gonna say, or just shorten it, right? Shorten their like
Yeah,
involvement.
yeah. I just
You
thought it
would
was a
say.
little drawn out. Yes, yes.
Yeah, I agree with you. That like we could have maybe cut that back to just them being like, all right, well, you're kicked out. Bye. Like, like that was the whole point of why they're there anyway. I agree with you.
Yeah, yeah.
If you wouldn't change that in the film, like what would you change? Actors, scenes, anything at all in the movie? Like anything that you would think of?
I think Maya Rudolph's talents were a little wasted.
Really?
She's
Wow,
really
really hot
funny.
take. You're coming in hot.
Yeah, she's really funny, and I don't think she had funny moments, but I feel like even with everyone, like you can just see like how funny they are. I don't think with Maya Rudolph you were able to see how funny she is as a comedian.
Right.
There was a moment when she like pooped herself. Yes, that was funny. The way she's like, "It's happening, it happened."
Mhm.
But other than that, maybe at the beginning when they're at the cafe, that's a little funny. But then after that, I just don't know that there was a lot of funny scenes like where she was delivering.
So I'm gonna take what you said. I'm gonna spin it a little bit, right? If you change her
Hmm.
to, let's say, a Tina Fey, right, which is also a part of that crew that they all, that they've all been coming up in, right, or something like that. Would that land
Yeah.
better for you if it was someone like a Tina Fey or like Amy Poehler, perhaps, or you wanted to
Amy
change
Poehler. I
her?
love Amy Poehler. Side note, Tina Fey is like one of my biggest girl crushes. FYI.
Oh
Just love
yeah,
her.
yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah, I just love her.
She's
But
awesome.
okay, side note done. No, I think it's not necessarily the actress. I just wish they would have given her funnier scenarios or funnier
Okay,
scenes. I think
okay.
that's my thing. It's like I love that. I love her and I love what she's doing now, like doing the Kamala Harris impersonations.
Yes, yes,
She's
yes.
so good.
Spot
However,
on.
I do
Spot on.
wish they would have given her funnier scenes. Is what I'm saying.
So that leads me to two more questions because I'm like, wait a second, I'm trying to process this. So then, do you think then I'm assuming the director was probably thinking like, oh no, hers needs to be more of a serious role because she's playing the friend who's getting married and he's trying to process all of this. I don't know if I think that the movie, since it centers around Annie's character, maybe it doesn't land the same if her friend is not taking all that shit serious. You know what I mean? Like like the disturbance on the plane, or her her trashing her bridal shower. Like, she needs to bring in maybe if we get a more serious actor. I don't know. I mean, I see your point, but I think she needs to bring the more seriousness to the role and show that side of her, even though she is a comedian. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, no, and I get that. I definitely understand what you're saying. Of course, you want to make it still as believable and plausible as possible. But
Right.
I was like, I wish they would have given her serious, more, funnier scenes, just because I know that she's a funny
No, yeah.
actress. So
She's
that's just my take. And I know that there's just, there's a reason why they did that. But then maybe pick a more serious actress. But she did well. She did really well. It was not her performance. I just wish I would have seen more jokes come out of her.
You ready to talk about our favorites?
No, there's another thing that I would change, actually.
Oh, please. Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Talk to me.
I wish they would have developed that cake baby a little bit more towards the end. Because, yes, she got her guy,
Yes.
but I don't want it just to be I know it's like her life fell apart because her boyfriend dumped her after the business failed, but also her business failed. So I wish they would have showed her maybe getting back up on her feet, because the way that we end. Yeah, because the way they ended the movie is just, she got a guy, but she's still unemployed.
100% agree with you.
And still doesn't have a business. I wish they would have said, okay, maybe he inspired her to start baking again, work for a bakery, or, hey, maybe I'll be an investor. I don't know, just something to bring her up, not only in her love life, but also her career. I think that's one thing I would change.
I wholeheartedly 100% give you that. I thought the same thing. And I've seen it, like you said, I was already watching it twice. And every time it ended, I always felt like something was missing. Because I'm like, wait a second. Okay, so she kind of forgave this guy for being a dick to her. And, rightfully so. But, okay, so what else? Like, what happened to her business? Like,
she was a dick. He was not a dick. She was a dick. I'm all about woman power, but she was wrong.
But I'm agreeing with you that the fact that she didn't like move out, or like show like a little snippet at the end where like she moves out, she either gets a job or like shows that she's baking again. Like that to me too would have been like, all right, like she's really changing and she's really matured after this whole thing with her best friend. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It felt a little empty.
When I was doing research, I did read somewhere that they were talking about a sequel, but that they said we wouldn't do a sequel unless if something was really good. And I'm going to make this pitch, and I just want some kind of royalties for this, but maybe that's where they can take that storyline, is her rebuilding her business and making that part of, like, maybe the girls are part of that. And then that could be like a Hangover 2, I don't know, kind of thing.
Bridesmaids 2, Hangover 2, written by Sheila, directed by Louise.
I'm just saying. It's my $1 million idea there. I'm just saying, I have mad idea.
We might have to like cancel airing this episode and like pen this real quick. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm down. Let's do it, Louis. 50-50.
All right. So all right, 50. Sure,
Most likely it'll be like 10%. It'll be like 5 and 5.
I'll give you like a finder's fee. Like
something. Listen, I will take 60. Whatever. We're in the middle of a pandemic. I'll take whatever.
Okay, all right. You gotta do your thing. So what is your favorite quote from the film then?
I struggled with that, not because I don't have one, but I have a few, and some are sillier than that. I am going for the iconicness of this quote. I'm going to say, "Help me, I'm poor." Is so iconic.
Yes, 100% with the glasses and everything.
Let me tell you, I used that meme when I was having a discussion about college textbooks, and I put a meme together that said "Help me, I'm poor," and then a description at the bottom of how much like colleges have increased in price and how unaffordable it is now. And it's just iconic. It's iconic. It's a meme. It's something that, 10 years from now, everyone's going to see her in the glasses and Help Me, I'm Poor, and everyone knows what it is.
I 100% agree with you. I love it. It's true.
Yeah.
You put that meme and you know exactly where it's from.
Exactly.
It is iconic.
Exactly. But another quote of mine that I love is the entire Spanish quote that she does on your cringeworthy scene.
I don't even remember what she said. I don't even
wrote
remember.
It down. I wrote it down. It says, gracias para... Yeah, I'm not going to translate. I'm going to say it in Spanish, and then I'll translate it maybe. Right. It's like, gracias para vivir en la casa, en las escuelas, and su mercada tienes con vivir en las fuchulitza, whatever the hell she said, and gracias.
I love how you said it in the accent too.
Yeah, I tried. That's my gringa accent. Okay, so that says, thank you for living in the house, in the schools, and blue marked have to live. No, tienes con have with live in the, and then I don't know what that last word was, and thank you. So
yeah, she made it up.
Yeah, she made it up. And I laugh so hard every time. It just hurts. It hurts so much. And it's so funny. And I love it. And I want to put that as a ringtone. But I have my Game of Thrones ringtone that I cannot ever remove.
And that was learning Spanish with A View to Film. Thank you, Sheila.
Yes, you're welcome. For hire.
So you ready for my favorite quotes?
What is your favorite quote?
Okay, no, I have more than one too, but I actually the first one I wrote was when what is that? Is it Megan?
Melissa McCarthy.
Melissa McCarthy's character, Megan goes, yeah, she goes, physically I don't blow, and they're staring at her, but. So then that led to me thinking like, dang, this is something that I would change in the movie. Cause I'm like, dang, like now in 2020, sometimes some of the jokes that they would say would be like, kind of like borderline, like, yo, like, what are you trying to say about yourself? You know what I mean? It was hilarious, but I was just like, wow, like this is borderline to me.
It's so good. Cringe. It's like, it's a gift.
I know, like I know, yeah, it's a gift. But my real serious quote was when the dad goes up and he's like, "They should get married now, and then like save me a shitload of money." And everybody laughs, and then he's like, "Yeah, no, I'm not joking. I mean," and and it just led me to thinking like, "Damn, I feel the dad's pain. Like, yeah, no, like save me some money, man. Like this shit ain't cheap. You know what I mean? Like." Damn, help me out here. Get married now. So I thought that was the funniest part to me.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's not cheap at all.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you better start saving up. Start saving up since yesterday.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We will see. We will see. I might just get married in a shack somewhere and just, call it a day.
Hey, like the dad said, man, just get it over with right away, quick and easy.
Yeah,
like a Band-Aid.
Yeah, like a Band-Aid, just rip it.
Yeah. Sheila? What's your favorite scene from the film then? Because there's so many iconic scenes.
Oh my gosh, there's so many. I gotta say, I have two, and I'm sorry. I know I should pick one, but I'm gonna pick two and maybe more. I don't know. But my favorite scene, Has to be honestly just because of the sake that is comedy is when they're at the bridal store.
Really? Okay.
That
Okay.
is just everything. I think it's because I've watched this movie so many times. As soon as they're walking through the door, I'm already laughing.
Because you know what's coming, right?
I know what's coming. But when Megan is sitting on that sink and she's like, look away. It just hurts. I just laugh so hard. Like I laugh with my belly with that scene. It's just so
No, and
good.
then she says it's coming out of me like lava.
Lava.
I
But
was
she's like, this thing is like the sink or this thing is a goner. It's something like that. That just is
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so funny. But that is my favorite scene. Like I watched the movie just looking forward to like the Brazilian steakhouse. And then when Helen is like, you don't look very well. And she's like, no, in fact, I am hungry. I'm starving. And she just puts that like almond in her mouth, and you can just tell, like, if you ever had food poisoning, you can only imagine like what it's like to like try to eat something when all you want to do is like vomit everywhere.
I
And
know.
it is just, I mean, the whole scene from beginning to end is just hysterical. So that's
How do
like
they
my
make
top one.
I was gonna say, how do they make her look so like draught, like with the like sweat? And she looks so drained, like please, like I cannot take this.
It's just talented people that just know how to make people because they all just look like they ran a marathon.
Yes, 100%. 100%. Gotta give it to the makeup department. That was
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Yes, yes. It just looks so good. But everything about it is just so funny and so authentic. I mean, I feel like, if you've ever had food poisoning, all those things happen and you start sweating and you're in pain, but you're sweating, but you're cold. And it's just a very bad feeling.
What's
So,
your what's your second favorite scene from the film?
airplane.
Oh yeah, 100%. You we both had the same too. I'm already spoiling it for everybody, but we both had the exact same stuff. Like
Yeah.
seriously, you cannot like watch this film and not crack up to at least one of those two scenes. Like, yo, they are gold. I'm telling you, and before you talk about why you like it so much, but I was gonna say like this movie started off a little slow for me, and I was like, oh man, I haven't seen it in a while. Oh, it's not that good. And then as soon as like they're doing the speeches, then they're doing the dress rehearsal, then they're on the plane. Like it's like back to back to back. Like yo, nonstop. I couldn't stop laughing. Just could not stop laughing.
Yeah, no, it's so funny. It is just amazing.
I would say for me, I gotta give like a little tiny MVP to the nervous lady who was sitting next to her, cause yo, small MVP in that like plane time. Like she's like, oh, I had a dream, and you were in it, and it's just like, yo, are you crazy? I'm gonna smack you right now. Like, why are you even mentioning that?
She is like the co-writer of this movie too.
Oh, wow, fun fact. I did not know that.
Fun
Oh,
fact,
that's really good.
yeah. Her and Kristen Wiig, I think, are like co-writers. I wouldn't say producers, but they're co-something. But she just had this like small part in the movie.
Wow, did not know that. That's super dope. Super
Yeah,
dope.
yeah. I don't know if I mean, she might have been the only one that was also a writer in this, and maybe I'm categorized. I just read that maybe yesterday, so I might be off on the title. But I think it just adds an extra element when you have someone who is creating the content and then delivers it.
I agree. It adds to it. You're right. Like if you're writing for it, like it really, you can tell. Like it just brings it to the screen. So Sheila, as we're wrapping up, before we talk about the ending real quick and give our MVP, the most important question that I want to ask you about, and that's like concerning this film. Who do you think? And this is super tough. I know it's gonna like probably cause some divide with amongst you and your girlfriends. But who do you think was right in this movie in general? Like, who had the right to be mad? Was it Lillian? Was it Annie? What are your thoughts on that whole dynamic when they blew up, like right at the end?
Yeah, no, I have to say, I think None of them were right, but I think if you're
Okay.
going to go with like this is going to be a point system at this point, and um, I
I
think
like that.
Lanyon was right to get upset because
All right, I agree.
at the end of the day, you're all adults, figure it out, you know.
Right.
And Annie had a full on tantrum.
Yeah.
But the one thing is that Helen was she was basically teasing her. I don't even think teasing is the right word, but she was like antagonizing her the entire time. And I mean, I have two kids, and when one is antagonizing the other, it only takes just a bit to get the other one to just
Mm-hmm.
blow up. And I know these are just
Mm-hmm.
kids, but if you're looking at Annie's character, she is someone that's basically, not to use a line from the movie, but she's hit rock bottom. She's lost everything, and she's pouring out of an empty cup. She's trying to put things together for her friend when she has nothing. She has no money, and she still has to put all these things together for her friend. And then she has someone who's doing it is not necessarily like, hey, Annie, let me help. You're in a bad place. Let me take over. She's saying,
Right.
I am the better friend. You had a childhood friend. This is my friend now, and I'm going to show you how much better I am than you. And I think at that point she took her idea about Paris. She, and
She definitely, yeah,
she
stole it.
dismissed it at first, but she was like, she always wanted to go to Paris. I think we could do the chocolate fondue. Even a chocolate fondue, she stole the idea after she dismissed it. And, we've been in professional settings and everything where someone dismisses your idea or dismisses something you have going on. And then it is a smack in the face when it's like, oh, yeah, we should do this all along. And you're like, I just said that. Like, that's exactly what I just said, but it didn't count. And
Right.
now, her friendship is at stake to a certain extent and her pride. And it's like, I had these great ideas. You dismissed them. You demeaned me or you made me feel small. And now you took my idea and you're running with it and you're getting all the credit. So that does something for someone. And I think at that moment, did she overreact? Yes, but she wasn't wrong.
No, she wasn't. I mean, and you know what I was gonna say, and I didn't think about, and until now, I was like, yo, how come her other friends didn't step up and say that? Like, hey, that was originally Annie's idea, and she was leading the charge with everything here.
Yeah.
Kind of call out Helen on her bullshit.
Yeah, yeah. And even when like after Annie gave her gift of like, a collage of like their friendship, she's like, "Oh, here's a ticket to Paris." Even to that extent,
Yeah.
like that was her breaking point. It's like, yeah, yo, I seriously told you all of this. I gave you all these ideas and you're taking all the credit and you're the hero here. But that was my
Yeah.
idea. I was supposed to be the hero. It was the one thing I was supposed to do right, and you took that from me.
In my point of view, I think Lillian was right because she could have easily turned into like a mega bridezilla and started demanding stuff, right?
Yeah.
Which we hear that happens in certain weddings. But I was also gonna say that once again, earlier, like, I honestly am shocked that the other friends didn't step up and say something on Annie's behalf. Like, yo, your girl Helen, she's like stealing all these ideas and trying to impress you or do X, Y, and Z. Maybe I would have, saved it like after the wedding because it's true. It's like this is her time. It's her time to shine. We don't want to take away from that, but definitely like afterwards, I would have just had a crazy sit down with her, like, yo, listen, like your homegirl Helen, she needs to go. Like, what is this? But I don't know. It's tough because those tough parts in the film really hit hard. Like, you've seen that, like with friends and stuff like that, and you would hate to see that. But at the end of the day, like I said, and like she said, Lillian, it's her wedding. Like at the end of the day, hey man, just take a back seat. We'll talk about it later. Let me enjoy this time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, figure it out as adults, or confront
Yeah.
Helen. Say, yeah, well, she did, but she did it in front of everyone and kind of with a
Right.
tantrum. But I would say, and granted, we may be overanalyzing it because after it was a movie,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah. No.
certain
Of
things that
course.
they're not going to think about.
Of
But from
course.
a woman's perspective, and the dynamic, I think it's also a kind of like a live and let live, or I'm not gonna tell because then it might backfire. So one of these friends would have said, "Hey, Lillian, Helen is took her idea and is taking credit for it. But this was actually Annie's idea. Let me vouch for Annie. But at that point, it's like, oh, so you're against the other one, or do you just stay out of it and just kind of enjoy the show? Not necessarily
You
the
know,
show of them fighting, but
right.
let's just do the events, everything, but let me stay out of it because I got my own problems.
If it was me personally in Annie's shoes, I would have just simply taken a back seat and I would have just said, hey, you know what? It seems like Helen is financially more involved because I'm going through so much. Hey, why don't you just make me like a bridesmaid or just a guest? Like, I'm going to still be here for you because we're best friends. But I don't feel like I would take on all that responsibility if, financially and mentally you're going through a lot. Does that make sense? Like, I would have just taken like
It
stuff.
it does, Lewis. But what
Yeah.
I would also say is that it does make sense. But when you're thinking about a friend, and I'm telling you, just like me being in bridal parties, and there's some, you have to buy a dress that's $200. Just that, you have to
Yeah.
figure out. And when you go into a wedding, especially like that, is not just like a wedding you can just drive to. You have to think about the logistics and everything. But it's also the person's day. It's like if I'm going to sit here and complain about money or whatever, I'm making it about me. I'm not making it about them. I think one of those themes is that pressure, that you feel to make people happy. But is pouring out of an empty cup. You have an empty cup and you're pouring out of this empty cup. It is not going to be good. But you feel that in a lot of friendships. And this is not only like as far as weddings, but even at the moment when she told her, I'm engaged, you're going to be the maid of honor. I don't know if you remember that scene that Lillian goes into another room to speak to her fiance. And and Annie is just laughing, kind of like a maniacal laugh, just like, ha ha
Hmm.
ha 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 ha. And it's like, my life is falling apart and now I have to be here for you. I'm going to do it because I'm a good friend, but
Yeah.
I'm in no state to do that. But I don't think that people are very honest with that because they don't want to disappoint the other person. And that's
I
also
know.
that pressure. That's not, I think that's the one thing that I would take away from Lillian is like that she did a little too late. It's like, more or less what the situation is with your friend. Take that into consideration. If you know that someone is not financially able to, then don't give them that responsibility.
Some people are not that considerate.
Well, and it's
I
not,
hate
or
to
it's
say
like,
it.
I have to give you this title because you are my longest friend. So there's that pressure from both sides. And sometimes and
Yeah.
that happens with a lot of friendships. It's like you guys are honest with each other, but not necessarily always transparent.
People take things personal, you know? And I'm going to give you a perfect example of why people take things personal. That's number one. And then I was going to say number two, it was like piggybacking off my idea. Like I was telling you, like if I would have known I was in that same situation like Annie, I would have honestly had an honest conversation and be like, hey, look, I don't think I can do this. Can I just rock over here? And I'm still going to support you. And I hope you respect that. But going to my first point, I literally have a friend, or I should say a current coworker, that she literally had a small wedding, literally small, just like 20 people because they just wanted to elope. And she's like shouting out on social media, and I'm not gonna name her, but she knows who she is. She listens to this.
Ooh.
Shouting out on social media, like apologizing. No, she knows who she is. She's apologizing to everybody, like, oh, guys, please understand, I couldn't invite everybody. And I messaged her immediately. I'm like, yo, you don't have to apologize for nobody. This is your wedding. Like, yo, don't apologize. Like, you do what you need to do, and you need to be honest with people. I'm like, yo, you have to understand it's COVID, but people took it so personal that like they attacked her because they're like, yo, you didn't invite me. And sometimes if you don't name somebody your groomsman, your best man, or your bridesmaid, or your maid of honor, they take things personal. They're like, yo, didn't we grow up
Yeah.
together? And you're like, yeah,
Yeah.
but I understand what you're going. And then you're like, no, 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 make me that. So I see both sides.
Yeah. And, when you're planning these things, and again, getting into the weeds a little bit, but when you're planning these events, you got to play off people's strengths.
Right.
I think that's a big thing. So I know earlier you said that I am organized and everything, but I'm not a great event planner. And
Yeah.
I do feel like even planning like what I was telling you with my best friends, like sometimes we're in conversations with some of the other bridesmaids and I'm like, wow, they're really good at this. And I'm not saying that I'm not going to go above and beyond to do the things I need to do for my friends, but I am doing that. I'm going above and beyond what I would do, like,
Right. Right.
I mean, you went to my baby shower. I mean, I know you went a little later, but I was 2 hours late to my own baby shower. So
Hey,
I'm
listen,
not bragging. I'm not
it is what
bragging.
it is.
It
It
was
is what it
it was a
is.
rough time, but you got to play off people's strengths, and I think that's a big thing to look at when you're planning events. Anyone who listens to this, and maybe a word of advice when you're planning events, whether it's a big party or wedding,
Yes,
anything like that.
take that advice.
Look at your group of friends and don't necessarily do it by who you know the longest. Who's going to be the most comfortable in that role? And I think that would really eliminate a lot of the issues. This is just a movie and it's obviously going to be more dramatic because it's a movie.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
I do think that there's something to take away from this. It's like if someone is not able to take on this role, don't ask a person who's working at a part-time jewelry store to plan a party to Vegas.
Yeah.
Like it is just not feasible. And you can't ask people to go broke or to struggle just for this event. I know it's supposed to be special, or if it's something else, if it's a big birthday party, it doesn't have to be a wedding, but anything like that. When you ask of people more than they can give, it's always going to be a recipe for a disaster. And I'll leave it. That's my soapbox.
All right, so that's good. That's a good segue into closing us out. Who is your Arturo Fuentes MVP of Bridesmaids?
My MVP would have to be Megan.
What? Yo, no lie. I put the same thing down. No,
Air fist
no
bumps.
lie. Yup, no lie. Megan, Melissa McCarthy.
Yeah.
Yo, it's I can't see this movie and like not just chuckle every time. Like just her talking to her husband, the air marshal,
Yeah.
was how, yo, like I couldn't stop laughing. Like I'm looking at wifey and we're looking at each other like, yo, this is so funny. Like brought the smoke. I 100% agree with you.
Yeah, no, I think she definitely, but even in the sense of not only what she did with the movie, but the role she played. You see, like Rita or the girlfriend that was in The Office. I'm just thinking about her office
We
character.
keep forgetting her name.
Hold on, I Becca.
Okay, yeah, Becca. There we
Yeah,
go.
but like Becca or Rita, one was concerned about that, whatever her husband and all the Disney characters that she wanted to be in or whatever. She was obsessed with that. And then Rita was just obsessed that she wanted balls in her face and her three
Right, right,
gross
right.
kids. But I think Megan was the only one outside of Helen and Annie that really that were like, okay, let's do this, and maybe Megan wasn't as involved with the planning, but the fact that she showed up at Annie's house and said, what is wrong with you? Like, I'm here for you. Like, here's life
Yes,
beating
I
you
wrote
up.
that
Here's
down.
life beating you up.
Yep,
What are you going to
yep.
do about it? Go wash your hair. That was another, I had like 4 quotes written down, but that was one that's like, you got to wash your hair. Got to wash that hair. That to me is another, like, you gotta do what you got to do one step at a time and get your life together.
I wrote the same thing down. She took advantage. She got all the puppies she wanted. She got the air marshal she wanted. She turned around Annie. She like literally picked her back up. Literally went to her house, picked her back up. Like she was just fearless, fearless, fantastic. I'm telling you, it's fantastic. Like just love the role. Love Melissa McCarthy in this. And for anybody like still listening, even up to this point, like you got to check it out just for her. Like it was phenomenal.
No, yeah, I honestly think it's the best role. And again, I'm not a huge movie head. Maybe there are 10 movies out there that I haven't seen, but this was the out of the maybe 2 movies I've watched, this has been definitely my favorite role. And I really think she was extremely funny, authentic, and really brought it.
So this was fun. Any shout outs like you want to give? Anything else you want to plug? You want to plug another wine?
Nah, they ain't pay me.
Please sponsor us. Please.
Yeah, hit me up, and I'll shout you out. So shout out to my fiance, shout out to my son Brody, shout out
Woo!
to my nephew Gabriel, my
Woo!
mama. I want to thank God for this opportunity, and yeah, that's it.
All right. Oh man. All right. So we'll catch you on the next one. This has been A View to Film. Thank you.